Tell me a little about yourself, who you are and what you're into.
Well, my name is Isaac Jeter, and live in Florida, and I'm a photographer right now, an amateur sports photographer. I've been at it for about 3 years now. Really working hard at it. It's finally bearing fruit.
Well, very good. How long have you been into shooting pictures?
It's been about 3 years. I started with a tiny little camera and worked my way up, got better, bigger and better lenses, and now I am where I am now. It's finally, like I said, getting to where I'm actually making money, getting business with stuff like that. And yeah, it's been a long 3 years in the making.
What do you like to shoot most?
Right now I'm focused on motocross and football, and I've been doing football for quite a while. I started in London, been doing it about a year and a half now, but motocross is I've been doing it about 9 months now, and it's something I kind of stumbled into and really liked it. Actually, it's where I make most of my business from, and I like it a lot.
How do you see photography as a potential career opportunity?
Well, I really wanted to be a photographer after I started taking these photos at my high school, the sky and stuff like that. And when I didn't really know what I could do because I was so shy and so sullen about things, I saw photography as a way that I could build a career to where I could go out and make money, travel the world, love traveling because, I'm from a small town in Florida, and I just wanted to see the world, be able to capture the amazing creations that God's created all over the world. And now He's really blessed me and got me to do it where I'm making money, where it's a step and I can keep going up and up.
Could you elaborate a bit on some of the struggles and details of being a sports photographer?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Like I was mentioning, I'm quite shy, and so at first I had a lot of help from a lot of friends, a lot of family to kind of pull me up and kind of push me out the door to try to interact with people. And that's been the hardest thing, is getting past that shyness and actually interacting with people. That's only the first part. That's like almost easy now. Like I kind of enjoy interacting with people, seeing that they're loving the photos, seeing what they're about and where they come from, background, and everything that I shoot, not just motocross, but in football as well. But definitely the shooting is hard as well, because we're in Florida, and it's summer right now. It's real hot, real sunny. I got a real bad sunburn right now on my neck, and it's all the way around. It's almost like you start thinking it's a way it's gonna be really cool, and then once you get there, it's quite difficult actually. The editing takes forever. Actually shooting, being at the shoot takes a long time as well, but it's all worth it. I love it.
What did your most successful day as a photographer look like so far?
My most successful day was actually recently. It was the 25th of July 2020, and I've had really great days before, really great days where I felt like this is amazing, I want to do this for a career, but it was just a stepping stone. Now on the 25th, it just felt like I was finally ushered into where I'm supposed to be. I started off shooting football in the mornings, a tournament in Wesley Chapel, and then I moved on to shooting motocross in the evening in Days City, and it was just 12 hours of sun, sand, astroturf photography, and it was really, really, really incredible.
You got a little rain that day.
Yeah, it did rain quite a bit. I mean, I can really go full in depth about everything that actually happened that day if you would like me to.
Sure. I'd love to. You got time?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd take a minute, but it was a wild story. It was a very long day, but yeah, I get started.
Very good. Let's see it.
So I began the day by waking up at 7 a.m. I knew I absolutely had like a really big day ahead of me. And I was real eager but nervous at the same time to get started. But nonetheless, I had to get up early. And the first step I took to a successful day was actually make my bed. So after I finished making my bed, I then transitioned to Bible study where I was studying Philippians for the first time. I did a little bit of highlighting of the text. Then I did a little bit of cross-examination, cross-checking with different scriptures throughout the Bible for references. Then lastly, I wrote down everything I learned just to keep things organized. I do this every day, but I specifically needed it today. And then lastly, I went into prayer for myself and just prayed for blessings, being favored, protected for the day because I had a lot to prove and a lot of people to please. After I completed all my spiritual necessities, I then began to get dressed and suited up for the day. I felt like Batman at this point, just like Batman at the beginning of Batman and Robin, where George Clooney is putting on the different parts of his bat suit to go fight crime, and that's just what I felt like. Then, of course, to top it all off, I couldn't forget what the hometown represents, St. Leo. I had to make sure everyone knew who they were working with. Then I did a last-minute check of all my camera gear to make sure I had everything I needed, like 2 SD cards, because I always double shoot now. Battery in the camera, so the camera actually come on. And of course, a second battery so I can get double the shooting time, not run out mid-shoot. So after I had everything that was essential, I began to pack up and get a little bit of rest because I've shot without some of those things before, and I never ever want to leave behind any gear again. So after I got done tying up all my loose ends, I got my keys, got out the door, got my car. Just a little bit past 8 o'clock in the morning, I was ready to hit the road, start my day. In most situations I can remain quite calm and composed in that. But in certain situations, like trying to drive somewhere by a certain amount of time, people be driving some type of way, I get agitated real quick, especially when traffic's not cooperating. In fact, that day I almost... But anyways, sometimes I actually really enjoy driving, I enjoyed the sightseeing aspect, especially on an early Saturday morning like that day. You have those nice hills that you can drive up and down. And you get those really sharp curves that go in between hills that are almost like riding like a roller coaster at Disney World. And then of course you get those big open skies, those big pastures, and they just really signify what Florida is as agriculture land. And that really make it distinct, But of course, more than anything, that wraps this all together and makes this a package deal is that bright, shining morning sun, that burning, hot, sweltering, humid, scorching sun that we all know and love. Finally though, after a short ride to Wesley Chapel, I reached the football pitches for 9 a.m. kickoff to see that my employer was already set up, ready to go. Thankfully, signing players in. But I knew because, footballers are notoriously late for their own matches, that I had a little leeway time to get acquainted. Regardless of that, though, there still was 10 teams to shoot that day, and I had quite a full schedule where I'd be shooting 2 matches side by side. Long last, though, the first match started about 20 minutes past 9. I immediately got to work on the sidelines just trying to shoot as much as I possibly could. Not long after the match began though, the sun really started beating down on me. I covered up as much as I could with like wearing gloves and a face mask and my St. Leo hat. But really it was too much. The St. Leo hat wasn't covering my face enough, so I'd swap it for a bucket hat later on. You know, considering all those photos I actually had to shoot for all those matches that morning, just watching and walking along the sidelines and shooting, it's actually quite fun and relaxing. That's because I knew the real hard work would ensue that afternoon. Now with that being said, there actually was a bit of a learning curve for me that morning because they're actually playing on 11-a-side pitches and I'm used to shooting on 8-a-side pitches, meaning that instead of 8 players, they've got 11 on each side, and the pitches are bigger, meaning it's harder to get good photos because I have to zoom in even farther, and it's just a little bit of a challenge. You know, overall though, I was quite satisfied with the images that I got from the morning because there was a lot of trial and error and a lot of learning actually. And even more cropping. Believe me, there was a lot of cropping involved, shots. But, I'm very thankful for God because He really put me in the right direction and showed me what I needed to do on the fly because everything was just kind of improvised in the moment. By the time I had finished shooting football for the day, I spent around 5 hours shooting and I was hot, tired, definitely in the beginning stages of a sunburn on my face. But overall, I was just so relieved that everything just went exceedingly and abundantly better than I thought it could have been. And stage 1 was a success. Didn't have much time to celebrate though, as it was already 1:30 and I still had motocross to shoot that afternoon. So I had to quickly drive home and reposition myself to completely change my pace of photography. So as soon as I got back into my room, I began to unload my camera gear like my laptop, my camera. Just got to work, opened up my laptop and booted up. Got my camera battery and plugged it into the wall because got through about halfway through the battery. Then I got my SD card out my camera and put it in the laptop. And I sat down and got to work. Started downloading all those photos just to make sure they were safe and secure on my hard drive. So as you can imagine, downloading almost 2,000 photo files takes absolutely forever. So in the meantime, I took some business preparations such as printing out the photo sign-up sheet just so I'm ready to go once it gets done downloading. So by that time it was almost 2 o'clock. I needed to hurry up and get DCMX, so I had plenty of time to prepare and set up for practice start at 3 o'clock. So, after I got all packed up, it's time to hit the road again, leave at a breakneck pace as they say. Right about now it was 2:15 and I was super excited because my dad was actually going with me. He finally gets to see what I do every weekend. So once I rode up on DCMX, I paid my gate fee. Then I put on my necessary qualifying identification to show that I was allowed to be there and I was working. And then I put on my hat, my gloves, just like I was Batman. I was ready to protect myself from the sun. And we were off to the races. Now compared to past weekends, that day was absolutely beautiful. Recently, it had been just dumping down rain every time I was at the track before the race could even get started. The track was just completely soggy. I had to repave it a couple of times and it was just an absolute mess. But today, the sun was shining, the track was dry, the light was in abundance, the people even more in abundance. There were so many people out there. And I knew in the depths of my soul that the Lord had set aside today to just bless me. It'd be my last race for a month, so I really had to make it count. So after I finished admiring the track, I underwent the necessary business preparations get started with meeting people, making deals, and just chatting around and being social with people, seeing how they were, seeing, how the week is going and that. And it was just, I felt really blessed because I had more people sign up this time than I've ever had anyone sign up. It was so fruitful, and I'm so thankful to God because I take every race as if it's my last, as if I never get another customer, as if I never get out there again. I'm just so thankful for the people who put their trust in me and my photos. Then once I got all things situated and prepared, it's time to get on that track. It's time to brave the elements, the sun, the heat, the sweat, the blood, the mud, all of that. See, this wasn't just a sprint, it was a marathon. Definitely a marathon. So without much preparation time, I then had to immediately get into shooting, which kind of stressed me out. But by the grace of God, the first shots were good to keep, and I was really starting to get into it. So there's this literally a running joke at the DCMX track that I sprint and run and do all kinds of stuff just to get the shots I need in one race. And it's necessary. It's not just a sprint. This job it's a marathon because I have to constantly keep up with everything I need to do for 7 hours straight. It's a real workout being out there, with all the sprinting and jumping, dodging and squatting. All I do, it's an all-inclusive package. There's not one moment of just rest, But the rush you get when you run all over the track like that, and at the end just get a great photo, you really can't rival that feeling. So beside the physical aspect of the job, I really think the most stressful part has got to be the quick transition times that you have between angles. Because you have a little time to take the shot and check it, and then move on to the next spot in hopes that you get there in time to get the rider and the spot that you want. And a lot of times it doesn't happen, but when God really helps you out and gives you that extra stamina, it works. I think one of the coolest things about being up at a track is I don't just shoot one, age group, class, whatever, but I shoot all types of riders, from different skill levels. I get Pee-wee riders, I get 85cc, I get 65, all the way up to 450cc with the plus 45s and plus 50s. It's really cool because you can adjust your shooting to different age groups and different skill levels. And once you observe quite a few of the riders, you can kind of lock into the riding style and be at the right place in the right time. Now, as a little kid, I spent my childhood just rolling around in the dirt, playing in the dirt and sand. And so to see that come full circle as an adult and actually be able to do the same thing but get paid for it and enjoy it at the same time, it's just a dream come true. And I'm just so thankful that I get to do it. Now, as much fun as it is to play in the dirt and that, there still is quite a bit of risk involved being on the track that close. And one of the biggest issues and liabilities is getting sprayed by a rider. And when it happens, let me just be clear on this, I cannot stand it because I immediately have to get into cleaning my lens and my camera body because all that dirt and sand in that, it could ruin my stuff that I paid so much money for. And so it just drives me up a wall. I immediately have to reposition myself after I get all that dirt out of my camera and my rig, and I just have to get back at it. By the grace of God, it's happened quite a few times. I just swing right back into it, and I can't let these things bother me. I don't hold anyone personally responsible. I know things happen, but you just kind of have to reposition yourself and keep going. I will mention though that being up at a track is not just about work. Sometimes I get to see cool stuff like puppies, and that just really brightens my day and keeps me going, and keeps me positive. Now, another strange quirk about the job is that I'm not actually watching the race as it happens. I'm so focused on just taking photos and providing the best product that I don't realize that, oh, there was a wreck, or there was this cool jump or whatever, until people speak about it after the race, because I'm so focused on the transitions and trying to get, like I said, the best product for everyone that I can. And these races run fast, so they're over before you know it. So by far, more than any other class or age group or anything, the ATCs are definitely the hardest to shoot, because they only get one race per moto, and so that means only like 2 races unless I can get that practice before the races even start. And there's usually 5 to 10 riders, and each one of them wants 5 to 10 photos, so you can imagine that's a lot of photos I have to get in a certain amount of time, and it is quite difficult. I also want to mention that the ATCs are also much larger and more intimidating than just regular dirt bikes. And so I use a lot more caution around them, because even though they're not as fast, they're still quite heavy machines, and it's dangerous in that. So with all that safety stuff being said, I will mention that there are times where I do have to run across the track just to get the shot that I need as the riders are actually approaching. And it's not because I get like thrills out of it or anything like that, but I have to make the transitions to get the shots I need. About that rain you mentioned, so that particular day it rained off and on like 3 or 4 times, and every time it rained the track got soggier and soggier. I had to go inside so I could protect my camera. So after the rain it kind of stopped and ceased up, I had to really be mindful of where I was running and stepping, because the mud gets real thick out there and you can lose your shoes. I've lost them on several occasions actually. But absolutely it does make for better photos with all that mud flying around in that. So like I mentioned, it just kept raining over and over again out there. And with every rain that passed, the track got more and more perilous, treacherous, etc. And it's really like the trenches of the Western Front out there. With every step, you just have to be careful, because I was slipping a lot. I was getting my shoes stuck, like I had mentioned. But unfortunately, despite all that, I couldn't use it as an excuse to slow down at all. I still had to keep shooting, and I still, had pictures to get through. So my favorite part about the mud and rain is that once the bigger bikes come out, they really throw around a lot of mud and water and that, and it just creates the coolest pictures. They really get muddy, they really throw up a lot of stuff in the background. But the thing is, with that, like I said, I can't sacrifice the work ethic and miss out on shots. Really, I have to actually work twice as hard just to get all the shots I need to make everyone happy. But finally, during the late afternoon, around 5 o'clock, is when the sun actually came back out and the rain ceased for the rest of the day. and it was super hot and sunny and humid, just absolutely disgusting out on that track. But in its place, we were left with these huge mud puddles that were just really like decimating everyone. I actually called the second moto because the track was in such a state. So I knew that in this moment I had a unique opportunity to capture all this mud slinging around and that. But at the same time, I had to protect my landing because I had so much mud just being slung at me. So after I got all my mud shots, I began to check myself over because I knew I got hit with quite a bit of mud. But I didn't realize that my clothes would be sacrificed as much as they were. By the grace of God, my camera was perfectly fine. So it was afternoon wore into evening. I was really starting to feel the entire day, my back, my neck, my arms, legs, everything were really starting to hurt. But the contrast though that the sun was creating between the shadows and the light was just too perfect to give up on. So I knew I had to press on until the job was done. Praise God, hallelujah. It was finally time to leave around 8 o'clock. And I was just absolutely decimated from the entire day. I was so hot, I was really sunburnt, I was covered in sweat and mud, and I was just like really done. All I wanted to do was go home and eat, take a shower, and just relax because I was just exhausted, absolutely exhausted. But I was happy because I knew that I had a successful day, and I knew it was successful in the Lord, and that I had a good fight, and I've been fought to the best of my ability, and the battle had been won. So actually, I think it was after I got home that I experienced one of the most difficult parts of my entire day, which was collecting all my tools I'd used throughout the day in one trip in both my arms and walking them inside. I had my camera bag, my laptop, my tripod, my clothes, my Bible, everything that I just wanted to bring inside, get out the heat, and not go outside again for the rest of the day. And it was definitely one of the hardest walks that I've done in quite a while. I was reminded of the times that were much more difficult than this, farther distances, more tired than I was that day, much worse conditions. So I was very thankful that I had a car to carry all that stuff because I've seen much harder times. So after I got inside, I immediately got a shower. Then my dad and I went and got some Chinese to celebrate a job well done. This was one of the most successful days of my life. There's no better way to celebrate it than just him and I having a Chinese together and just celebrating all that had been accomplished, because this is probably the most monumentous day up to this point in my life. So after I had a little bit of a break, I had to get right into editing. Of course, I couldn't do it without my number one pal, my OG wingman, my little brother Tanner. Yeah, we just got right to work. So once again, we were back to square one, where I had to eject my SD card out my camera and put it into my laptop so we can download the photos, just like I'd done with all the football photos earlier in the day. And I was just really exhausted at this point. But I knew there was a certain amount of work I needed to get through with that evening. Otherwise, it'd be much more difficult for me to do it tomorrow, because there was just so much to do. And I really needed to get these photos out to the customers as soon as possible, because there were, not only motocross photos to go through, but football as well. And I have to sort through them and then edit as much as I can. It's just a lot of job to do, and just to download the photos, as takes forever. Oh, it was just a huge job. And actually, I believe the same amount of photos I took at football was roughly the same amount of photos I took at motocross. I took about 2,000 per job, to a total of 4,000, and it was just absolutely ridiculous. It was so many photos. It took me days and days afterwards just to not only edit but just cull through all of those and get rid of the bad ones. Now, unfortunately, I really didn't have the strength to edit too much. It was just, after being out in the sun all day like that in the heat, I was just drained. Especially having a nice big meal like that, all I could think about was bed, 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 bed. But after all that work I'd done, I felt like I really earned the right to sleep that night.
Looks like a really long day.
It was one of the longest days of my life, being out in the sun like that. For 12 hours, I was like really upset that I got like an absolutely terrible sunburn on my neck to where it was like red, and my arms were numb from carrying that lens all day, and I was just tired, but it was a good type of tired. Like, I earned the right to sleep that night. That's what I felt like. And you can't really replicate or replace that feeling, knowing that you really earned your way at the end of the day.
Yeah, you certainly come a long way in 3 years.
I definitely have. It's all by the grace of God, because I've experienced quite a bit of not backlash, but a lot of push and shove. I had to fight against quite a few things, but to see where I'm at right now and so far to go, and just gives me the incentive to keep pushing forward in that. But I hope you enjoyed the story. Yeah, I really, I mean, it's my life, so I hope it counts for something.
Amen to that.
Amen.